A single fallen leaf seems like the end of a story. It drops from a tree, floats gently through the air, and settles on the ground. Most of us step over it without a second thought. Yet beneath that simple leaf lies a world that is far more alive, far more complex, and far more active than it appears. What looks like a quiet piece of nature is actually a busy landscape filled with movement, hidden structures, and thousands of tiny lives. The moment a leaf touches the ground, it begins to transform its surroundings. The temperature beneath it becomes slightly warmer or slightly cooler, depending on the season. Moisture collects in ways it never could on the open surface. Light becomes soft and filtered, turning the underside into a dim, protective shelter. All these changes create a microclimate that many small creatures have evolved to rely on. To them, the underside of a leaf is not debris from a tree. It is a home. The structure of a leaf makes this hidden world possible. Veins run through it like bridges and tunnels. Ridges rise and fall like tiny hills. Cavities form natural hideouts where small organisms can rest unseen. If you could shrink yourself down to the size of one of these microscopic creatures, the underside of a leaf would look like an entire landscape made of valleys, arches, and winding passageways. It is both shelter and terrain, a place shaped perfectly for tiny forms of life to thrive. The first creatures to arrive when a leaf falls are often the smallest arthropods. Springtails, tiny mites, and microscopic insects begin exploring the newly formed shelter. They feed on whatever they can find, often starting with the thin film of fungi, algae, and bacteria that quickly begins to grow. To these early visitors, a fresh fallen leaf is a source of food, protection, and opportunity. They clean its surface, scrape away the first signs of decay, and create openings for other organisms to follow. Their activity marks the beginning of a complex process that will eventually turn the entire leaf into rich soil. As morning arrives, something remarkable happens under the leaf. Dew begins to form. Water collects in the small grooves and channels on the underside, creating tiny shimmering droplets that act like temporary ponds. Inside each droplet lives an entire community of microorganisms. Some drift slowly through the microscopic water, feeding on nutrients. Some reproduce quickly, creating bursts of activity inside a space smaller than a grain of sugar. These tiny communities may only exist for a few hours before the water evaporates, but during that time, they create important movement and cycling in this miniature ecosystem. Where there is abundant life, there is also danger. Predators roam the underside of the leaf with surprising precision. Many of them are so small that they appear as moving specks of dust, yet to the microorganisms they hunt, they are enormous threats. These predators may wait in shadows, using the natural architecture of the leaf as camouflage. When an unsuspecting organism wanders close enough, the predator strikes with shocking speed. This hidden world is peaceful on the surface, but filled with the constant rhythm of survival beneath. The leaf continues to change as days pass. Its edges curl upward. Its surface softens as moisture works its way inside. Small cracks begin to form and its structure becomes easier for tiny creatures to break down. This gradual transformation is essential for the forest. As the leaf decomposes, it releases nutrients that feed microorganisms, insects, and plants. Every stage of its breakdown supports different inhabitants, each one playing a small role in turning the leaf back into soil. The underside of a leaf also protects its community from the harshness of the outside world. Wind cannot reach most parts of this tiny shelter. Sunlight is softened into a gentle glow instead of a harsh beam. Sudden temperature changes are slowed, giving the creatures beneath a stable environment. The leaf acts as a shield, a roof, and a food source all at once. It supports life while it slowly becomes part of the forest floor. Over time, the leaf becomes almost unrecognizable. What once was a firm green structure becomes soft, dark, and full of openings. More organisms join as decomposition continues. Worms tug pieces of the leaf downward. Fungi spread through its fibers. Bacteria break apart molecules that have held the leaf together since it first grew on the tree. Piece by piece, the leaf turns into nutrients that enrich the soil and support the growth of new plants. This entire process happens quietly. You could walk past 1,000 fallen leaves and never realize what is happening beneath each one. And yet, this hidden world is essential. It recycles nutrients, supports the growth of forests, and keeps the cycle of life turning. Without these micro-ecosystems, soil would not be able to stay fertile, and forests would struggle to grow. The health of an entire landscape depends on tiny creatures living beneath something as simple as a single fallen leaf. The next time you see a leaf lying on the ground, remember what might be happening beneath it. There could be hunters searching for food. There could be microorganisms drifting through a droplet of morning dew. There could be tiny insects carving out new pathways as the leaf slowly becomes part of the soil. A single leaf may seem insignificant, but beneath its surface exists a world full of movement, purpose, and life. Even the smallest places can hold the biggest mysteries. And sometimes, the most extraordinary worlds are the ones we never think to look at.